It's a waiver wire Tuesday. You're looking at the waiver wire. You're looking at the wide receivers. You're trying to figure out who to pick up. Quentin Johnston is a trending name. He blew up last week, saw a lot of targets and opportunity the week prior, and now you're looking at his name on the waiver wire. We're going to look at the advanced analytics. We're going to look at his production. We're going to look at the trends going forward to see whether or not you need him for fantasy football. But what you need to do right now is click that subscribe button. We always do deep dives like this on the trending players so you can get that information to make those sound decisions. We cover the waiver wire extensively. We use these videos to help you set your lineups. So click that subscribe button. Stop missing out because we got a lot on Quentin Johnston today. And Josh Palmer came into week 2 nicked up with an injury. He was hurt, but he played through it. He worked on less snaps. So that could have impacted the production, but Quentin Johnston, we're going to tip our hat to him, though, because he went off. Played on 70% of the snaps, 67% last week, so it's the same snap rate pretty much. One more target compared to last week, caught 5 balls, but scored those 2 touchdowns. And that really buoyed that fantasy production, 22.6 PPR fantasy points, but everybody's looking for him off the waiver wire. Quentin Johnston is the big name, but I thought he was bad. Everybody told me he was bad at football. He's not getting targets. He's not going to get opportunity. He's just going to go undrafted in fantasy leagues and be nothing going forward. But we already got a wide receiver 1 week to his name and 2 games of over 20+% target share. But looking at him last year, he wasn't efficient. He wasn't getting the job done. But guess what? New coaching staff, players can get better. He has potential. He was a former first rounder. So maybe things are getting better because he was productive at TCU. He was one of those players where he was productive, but every now and again, every few games here and there, he would just go off for big moments. He had that one game against Oklahoma where he just made it rain. It was a night game. In 2022, 305 yards per route ran, 12.9 average depth of target, and his ADOT was high throughout his career, 15.6 on his career. So what does that tell you? He's a boundary wide receiver. He excels at deep targets. He needs the ball pushed to him downfield. That's what they did to him at TCU, and that's what he did last week on those deep targets down the field, bringing them in. Even one that was missed was a deep shot downfield, and he was racking up them air yards. And looking at what he's doing on the season so far, 11 targets, but a 25% target share. 25 to 30% or more is elite. That's elite. The ADOT's at 11. That's telling you, hey, this guy's getting a work rate right now. That is good. That is top tier. The work rate is what you really want to chase. Even if he's not really that efficient with it, it's still something you want to chase for fantasy football because there will be matchups where he hits. And he was efficient against Carolina. And you may say, hey, the matchup here wasn't great, but he's still seen a lot of targets. He's run a lot of routes. Even on week 1, second on team in routes ran, had a good snap share. The work rate is here for Quentin Johnston. It might be here to stay. He earned it to stay last week. Earned that he's reliable. He earned those deep shots, reeled them in. Averaging 21.5 routes per game. A good ADOT, the target share. He's getting a quarter of the targets thrown his way. That's solid. That's up there among wide receivers. That is up there. That is something you want. The problem here, Justin Herbert's only got 51 dropbacks in 2 games, 46 pass attempts, ranked 29th among quarterbacks. Something you don't want. The completion rate's good, but we need more volume. We need better game scripts to push this out. Also, the Chargers want to run the football. We know this about Harbaugh. We've been saying this going into the season. The Chargers might get hardballed, and we may need to draft J.K. Dobbins as a stash play in double-digit rounds because he might get hardballed if he's healthy. 37 rush attempts per game versus 26 pass attempts at 59% rate, second most in the league rush rate. And now we're looking at a team here that wants to move it on the ground, that doesn't want to pass it too much unless they have to. Even in a neutral game script, when the game is tight, when it's neutral, they still want to run the football, and they get even slower with 30.2 seconds between snaps. This team wants to run the ball. They want to run it between the tackles, so the volume may not be there for Quentin Johnston, but he's seeing enough of the targets where if the matchup pushes it for them to pass and Justin Fields has to go yellow with it, he might go off. The Carolina matchup was good for him to do that because that was a game script that could potentially break due to Carolina being Carolina and Bryce Young being Bryce Young. That's what happened there, and other things too, but objectively, from a macro standpoint, those game scripts that break is going to lend in favor to a guy getting 25% share of the targets, seeing double-digit air yards, because those pass attempts will ramp up. We're looking at the Steelers this week. Ladd McConkey game potentially here. They allowed yards to Ray McLeod. They allowed yards to Greg Dulcich and Josh Reynolds last week. Over the slot, over the river, and through the woods. That's where the yards go on this team. So we might see Quentin Johnston get shut down here. It's a tough play here. Chiefs might be a tough play, but we might get volume due to the game script. Broncos is always weird, but it's always a slow volume game. Cardinals could be fun, but they're also a little bit of a run funnel. Teams are trying to run on them, and the Chargers want to run on everybody. Saints are putting up a lot of points. That could be a Quentin Johnston game. Browns are in slow game scripts. Titans are in slow game scripts. Bengals are in weird game scripts. Ravens are the Ravens. Falcons are nasty against the pass. So off and on, you're going to have a few matchups where you feel good about playing Quentin Johnston, but he's a guy to have at the end of your bench, as you see here, as a spot starter because he's getting targets, he's getting a good target share, he's getting good air yards. That's why you truly need him, and you're looking at the volume here in the offense. It's getting spread around a little bit too. Remember, Josh Palmer came into this game hurts. He was playing through it. He was working through it rep by rep, snap by snap. So he's going to get more work going forward. Quentin Johnston last week earned more work. We're probably going to see that because Harbaugh is a rah-rah guy. Ladd McConkey is going to be in some matchups where the ball's going to go his way. He's also seeing a 24% target share, so there's going to be upside there. Josh Palmer is in this offense and is a guy to worry about, but also he is not all world either. He's not an elite guy. He's not a top tier guy. He's just an average wide receiver in the league. That's what those efficiency metrics say right there. He's okay. He's good enough to play in the NFL. He's good enough to run some routes, but he should not scare off a talent or beat out a talent that's drafted in the first round. And if he does so, there's a major problem. But you don't need him. You look at those matchups, you look at your wide receivers, and you're like, nah, I'm good. But you want him on your bench. You need him on your bench. You want to play the matchups with him. He's not a guy you have to get. You don't need to get him. But if you're hurting at wide receiver, you're looking for a patch-up play, you lost Debo or something, he's okay to have on your roster. Really, this waiver wire class going into week 3 isn't great at wide receiver. So a guy getting 25% target share off the waiver wire is something you're not normally going to get. So whenever you get a guy on waiver sitting there who's getting a 20+% target share, good indicator to pick him up because that's rare. That shouldn't be happening. A guy getting that good of a share of the targets shouldn't be sitting there for free off waivers. Quentin Johnston is a good bench stash, a good bench guy, not really as an upside stash, but maybe as a guy to fill in for your matchups due to the matchups he's going through and due to the volume in the passing game. He could break out to some regards this year, but the volume of the passing game might negate that a little bit because Harbaugh wants to Harbaugh, but I think he's okay for the end of the bench, but I would be leery starting him every week. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.